Hello and welcome to Bronze Age Monsters, the show where we wade into the weirdest and wildest waters of the comic books of the 1970s. This season on B.A.M, we're covering the brief life of Atlas Seaboard Comics, the publishing venture of Martin Goodman that some say was a middle finger to Marvel and Stan Lee. Revenge is a dish best served in 4 colors. I'm Matt Howell.
I'm Jacob Balcom.
Thanks for joining us this week, listeners and viewers, you folks out there in YouTube land. So, Jacob, this is episode 7. We're waist deep now in Atlas Seaboard, and I want a gut check. What are you thinking and feeling about Atlas Seaboard so far?
Yeah, waist deep is right. We're in. There's no going back at this. We never would have gone back at this point, of course. But no. As far as a gut check, I feel better this episode. I feel like I have adjusted my expectations a little bit, not necessarily lowered, but I feel like I'm in a better place with Atlas Seaboard to have a good time for the rest of the season.
Is it aligning with the feedback you'd heard or read about it online from people?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I think we went into some of these being like, oh, Phoenix is one of the good ones. And we've generally, I think, agreed with a lot of the consensus that's online. But yeah, it's I don't know. But with this issue, with Morlock 2001, I'm having more fun. I wrapped my head around us covering something and covering a line of comics that might not be stellar.
Right.
I don't think anyone's going to argue that point, but there's fun stuff about it. And I think I'm able now to focus on the fun. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a slog. I'm excited. I believe in the work we're doing. And so a gut check, I'm in a better place than I was a couple episodes ago. I was worried. I won't lie. I was a little worried.
What was your personal nadir, your dark night of despair? Is there one?
I don't know if there necessarily was one. I mean, out of the gate, I don't know. I think it was just realizing that oh, Destructor's cool. We're going to talk about the first issue. Man, I love that second issue. Yeah. And so I feel like that's been a lot of our experience. That's been the case nearly every time. And so I'm kind of leaning into that. I'm realizing that, especially with this one too, with Morlock, their origins, their place settings, and origins and place settings can sometimes be awkward and not necessarily where the book wants to go. And we're finding, at least with Atlas Seaboard, that the second issue seems to be where they find out where they want to go. And you and I are like, cool, this book is great. We know what it's going to do. And then third issue comes, they're like, let's throw all that out and let's just start all over again, which can be a little demoralizing.
Yeah. And it seems like the pattern with third issues or fourth issues for us so far has been Jeff Roven's not there anymore. And Gary Friedrich has taken the reins to somehow pick up just steer the course. Usually the course correction is a 9-degree turn. And we know that this isn't Friedrich just being like, this is my creative baby that I'm, no, this is the Goodmans basically, pulling him in and being like, do this, but don't do that. And all these, crazy edicts. And as much as we talked about shooter edicts, Martin Goodman edicts seem insane. You don't know where they're coming from or what they mean. And you're just like, oh my God, this is, I don't know. It just seems like Goodman's sanity seems to be slipping a bit towards the third issue of every one of these. Hemorrhaging money out of his checking account every month.
He is. He's just like, oh my God, I thought I was just going to have revenge and everything was going to be cool. And then they pull in Gary Friedrich, which might be kind of blackout drunk. Who knows? I don't really know exactly where he's at. I know he's talked about drinking before, right?
So Ben Potter on the previous episode, our guest, mentioned that I did a superficial dive onto Friedrich. I didn't see any references to substance abuse And again, like on Wikipedia, that doesn't mean anything, but I didn't find that myself.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe we're completely wrong, but I don't know. But I don't necessarily think that Friedrich is gonna. Did he even show up in the CBA?
I don't know if he's in that roundtable where it's just like the quick interviews with a bunch of people, like Al Milgram.
Yeah,
I don't know if he actually is in there.
I don't know if he is either. So I don't think that this is. And yeah, not saying that, he's in some kind of low moment of his life or drinking or anything, but I'm just like, if I was him and I was given these assignments, I'd be drinking pretty heavily. So maybe that's just me projecting how I would deal with the Goodmans and what they're telling me to do. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, as we'll talk about with Morlock issue 3, they're just like, okay, Friedrich, here's Bernie Wrightson and Steve Ditko. Deal with this.
Well, I'm wondering if by the time they brought him in, if blood was in the water at the point where they're doing third issues, where it's just like everyone is talking to each other in this community in New York City, and they're like, yeah, it's an easy paycheck, and then this is not going to last long. So if they offer you something, just say, sir, yes, sir, and shit out a script. I guarantee you will not be asked back for a second one. It's based nothing on your skill. You know what I mean?
It has to be. I think by the time the third issues are being plotted and drawn, like everyone has to know. And it's a small community. They're all going to talk to each other. And yeah, I think, maybe for the first issue, maybe, all the people coming in, Goodman paying everyone so well, giving them their artwork, being like, this is a new dawning of a new era. And so, yeah, maybe people bought it going in. And then we're maybe just like, oh, okay, it's a little rough, but, we'll figure it out. And then, I think you're probably right.
Yes, but as you said, so far, we're definitely aligned in the fact that we almost always really like the second issue. And if there's a third issue or fourth issue, then, or third, whatever the last issue is, it's usually a complete change. We should add a segment called like, final issue decoder ring, where it's just like, what did Martin Goodman say to Greater Friedrich this time? Make it more Kirby, with a protector or the Phoenix or the fuck that was.
See, but it's so random. I think we should have something like a press your luck board that's going around where it's just like, around. Okay, spinning around. Oh,
no whammies.
Man. We're like, no brute, no brute, no brute.
Yeah, no holes.
Then, yeah.
What's interesting is we're going to dig in here in a second, folks, but the brute is constantly alluded to as being Goodman saying, I want a Hulk, damn it. And we laughed through that with, our guest about that. But like, I think this issue is way more, at least at its core, the idea of a Hulk, Stan Lee has said many times the Hulk is based on Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like, there's an element that's more Hulk to this than there is ever in the brute.
Yes, and then there's also the argument, I think Fred Hembeck's piece that he did in CBA illustrates it best, where he just has, his normal Fred Hembeck, like page-long thing, and it's all these panels saying about every single thing that Fleisher kind of ripped off to make this story.
Yes.
It's everything from, it's 1984, it's Fahrenheit 451, it's A Clockwork Orange, it's, it's The Heap. It's it's like a dozen things.
Yeah. So with that, I think we should jump in because I'm excited to actually talk about this issue quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. I am very excited.
Although, I'm sorry, I did have one last thing. So I did mention this on the Discord, and folks, if you're not on the Discord yet, I'll throw a link into the description of this video. There's always one in the podcast notes if you want to join. We love our Discord message boards there. We talk to people that listen to the show, friends from all over the world. It's super fun. It's that comics community message board that you either had when you were younger or didn't know because Twitter ruined everything, and but you need in your life. So we have a lot of cool people on there talking about movies, music, whatever, just shooting the shit, and it's a great group of people. But I mentioned on there that I think that we need to, I started ranking these things, these titles we've read. So we're, and to be fair, I want to say, we're not just talking about issue number 1, because we've been largely underwhelmed by number 1s across the board so far. So I want to talk. I want us to rank while we go our experience reading a title. So when we're done with this episode, Jacob, I want you to go to that spreadsheet and put Morlock 2001 somewhere in the depth chart. And it might involve taking Phoenix and moving it down, or moving the Brood up, or whatever it is for you. I don't want to know. That's your personal business. But I want at the end of the season to have a personal ranking of top to bottom of the ones you enjoyed the most as an entire run. And then the finale of the season, we're going to reveal those going up from the bottom to the top. And I want to figure out, this is all mushiness right here, clouds and mists and dragons. But I want to have like people who guess correctly our top fives or bottom fives, middle fives, something. Maybe it's just like Vegas. Maybe it's just any run of five. Anybody gets all five perfectly right anywhere in the run. Some prizes, because we haven't given out prizes. Creature Commandos was kind of a low key finale. So I want to do that.
Yeah, I'm in.
So folks out there playing at home, if you don't know, we usually make a big deal of our finales. We get tuxedo shirts on. We do the whole thing. We do ballots. We'll send out ballots and have people vote on their favorite covers, characters, art teams, whatever. We'll do all kinds of stuff like that. And you can send them in to us, and then we'll pull them randomly live on the air, I believe. And then if you do, then you win a prize. We do a whole thing. It's super fun. And so I'm really looking forward to just getting our final thoughts here. So if you're listening at home, I would note our reactions to each episode and each run, because that will help you guess if you want to do that part of the ballot and guess like our top five, our bottom five, whatever. I think it should be probably top and bottom five. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure you note in the special moleskin notebook that you bought for notes for the show that our absolute reactions.
Hey, I've alerted Caesar's Palace. All right. So now they're in on it. So
the odds men are in on it now.
Yeah. All right, so let's dig into Morlock 2001.
All right.
So this was originally published, according to comics.org, on December 10th of 1974, with a cover date of February 1975. This had a bi-monthly schedule, and it was published over 3 issues. So this cover here has pencils by Al Milgrom and inks by Dick Giordano. And actually, Al Milgrom drew an original one that was rejected. So on the left here, you can see this is the one that he drew, and they said no, and had Dick come in and draw. So interestingly enough, the pose of him is the same, the human character. The damsel, Jacob, damsel in distress.
Damsel in distress. Drink for that.
So here the damsel is in the creature's arms. And I've talked about this throughout the run of the show with you, Jacob. The main character in an unusual position always kind of has a push-pull kind of attract-repel kind of quality to me that I find attracts me more often than not. However, this one, sorry, if you're just listening, folks, on the cover here, we have a character in a cool futuristic space outfit with white kind of Quicksilver hair, and he is in a very bizarre pose where his left arm is coming out to us. He's making a fist with his right arm. He's squatting like he's taking a dump. This is this is not real. But behind him is where the interesting thing happens for me. There's a thing that looks like a tree stump / octopus, a brown creature with penis-like hot dog fingers, and it's holding on to a damsel in a green and orange futuristic dress. And in the background, you can see a futuristic city. For me, I love the damsel and the creature. This hero on his first debut cover, not showing us his face and being in a weird yoga pose or something, does not work for me. What do you think of this cover?
No, I mean, agreed. And looking at Milgram's first cover, I think the damsel in his first cover looks pretty bad. Just like I actually think that Linda looks really bad on the opening page too. Really bad. And so I actually think that the change of the I'm assuming is Linda kind of is I think that's a real improvement with her actually in the monster's arms, which is good. But yeah, I mean the position he's in is just messed up. Dicko could do this. If Dicko could handle this kind of this kind of musculature and pose, but no one else could. Anyone else trying to do this, it looks weird and gross.
Yeah, it does not work for me. So the title, the header to the title is The World's Strangest Superhero. And I love that bold move of claiming this is a superhero book.
In the smallest and most boring font that you could possibly do for The World's Strangest Superhero.
Yeah, and it's basically like they're just like covering their asses. Like, how small do we have to make it to not be sued? Like, may cause diarrhea.
Yeah.
So we can dive in here, but I just wanted to look at this again. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Mel Gibson's original proposed cover here, she looks like a Robert Crumb napkin girl. Like, this is not good.
It's
I like Robert Crumb. It's not a dig at Robert Crumb. It's just like, it just looks like it's like, oh, so you like girls with big thighs? Like you want a big girl scoop you up and put her in her cleavage and walk around with you? It's got that kind of Crumb perverty kind of vibe.
It's got the Crumb perverty vibe, but also it's just not very well drawn.
Yeah,
to where
that's where it's bad. I don't mind pervert.
No.
You know, I can hang with a pervert. I can't hang with a pervert that draws badly.
That is a good statement. That's a good statement for the show. I love it. Yeah.
So yeah, and then this image here on the right is something that appeared in some, like, I think it was like in a Philadelphia newspaper. There was a big newspaper thing that, like, in Philly about this new company's coming to challenge the big two. And this is one of the things that was contributed to that. I like the thing on the right. I think it was awesome.
It does look awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I was reading about that too. I was just like, wow, how much did that cost Goodman? I bet that cost him a lot.
Yeah. Or maybe just he won a poker game and the guy's like, dude, you got to give me the title of my car back. My wife's going to divorce me.
Yeah.
All right. I got a story for it in the paper.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, yeah, let's jump in.
I'm sorry. There was one issue there, Jacob. Before we jump in.
Okay.
We have a rule here around these here parts, my partner. When something happens on the cover, what doesn't happen in the book, you have yourself a drink.
This is a bit of a fake out, right? Yeah, I'm going to drink to that.
I mean, it is. Like, I was torn, right? Where it's like, well, what if there's a Batman cover and it's like Bruce Wayne facing off against Batman, but it's all it's a representation of an internal thing. I'm going to say issue number 1, you can't lie like that. So it's a lie.
No, you can't lie like that. And I think anyone who imagines themselves in the pose that Morlock is in there, like that's, I don't want to think about that.
It puts us all in an awkward position.
IDS makes us all victims. It truly puts us all in an awkward position. Yeah, just as the poster says.
Drink for Mr.
We also have to have a drink for Mr. Show
Mr. Show reference. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's jump in. So yeah, we open on a scary plant monster attacking a pretty lady while 2 men rush into the room. Yeah, one of them saying, "Good Lord, choke." What is that thing? There's a lot of choke in this issue. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Fleisher loves leaning into the choke.
Yeah, I know. And how would you, are we doing that right? Like, is the choke actually just like kind of like a swallow? Or it's not the word choke, right? Like that's what what is the onomatopoeia?
When it has these,
yeah,
it's a,
yeah, okay.
Like, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that is what it is. It's hard to do that. I just want to read choke every time and it makes me laugh.
So I always read it out loud.
Yeah.
I have to.
Good Lord, choke. What is that thing? And so the opening narration reads, the year is 2001 AD, a time when life as we know it has become hideously transformed. A rigid totalitarian regime holds the people in an iron grip, and mankind's greatest truths has been declared inoperative. Yet you are about to witness an event that will stagger the imagination and change the course of history. You are about to witness the coming of Morlock. So yeah, well, we get a little whiff of that totalitarianism that we're going to see throughout this, which is just...
Is that what that is?
Smells like Orwell, man. That's what it is. Like So yeah, I don't like how the woman is drawn here. Everything is wrong. The face, we would complain when Jack Russell would have that mouth. You called it the suckerfish.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And something with her shading, like on her side of her face, like the hard shadow, the high key lighting on her.
Yeah.
This all smacks to me again of like fanzine, like late 60s, early 70s, like fanzine.
Okay, but I was really trying to kind of parse this out. So multiple times we have been like, wow, the opening page to this comic really sucks. And the art in the rest of the comic is pretty great. Mm-hmm. That just seems so counterintuitive. Like I've tried to figure like, oh no, maybe they had to redo the first page and they didn't have enough time. But I'm just like, how would that even be? That's not even feasible. Like, because the second page isn't the opener, right? Like they're not like, oh no, we need a more explanatory opening page, but it's not. So I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe it started with him in the in his little greenhouse, but I don't know.
Well, Jacob, you know what we have here? We have a Rockford answering machine situation, which we see a lot in the 70s comics, where the first panel, the splash page, is a exciting incident you're going to see on this TV pilot episode. It's a TV movie, hopefully a series.
Yep.
Like it just feels like that.
Well, then maybe it is an add-on. Like it's been done enough to where maybe this is one of those first things where Goodman's like, these are great. A little too arty though. Why don't we put the first picture has to have a big explosion? And
Yes, a la Ed Wood. Right. Like, because on this next page, as we're going to turn to in a second here, like, honestly, if I'm a 10-year-old kid and I ride my bike to the drugstore and I pull this off the shelf because I think the cover is interesting, I want to see what the turd monster is. If I open the page and I see an old man talking to begonias, might put it back.
You might. So
this to me is, even though it's not well executed, it's at least tantalizing. Ooh, violence.
Yeah. Oh no.
Ooh, thighs.
Yeah.
Or something.
Violence and thighs. That's all a 10-year-old boy wants in 1975. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe that's what it is. So I think that's making more sense now that we're getting these kind of arty beginnings to these issues, because it's like, no, this is quality stuff. And then Goodman's like, well, not that much quality.
Yeah. Whoa.
Hold on there.
We need to put some lips on assholes in here. I'm not paying for full quality. That's ridiculous.
So that's what I get out of this opening page.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still like the design of this thing, even though it just looks like a crusty turd. Like it still looks scary to me. So
yeah, I like it. Oh my God. I forgot to read the creator credits. So yeah. In case you're just listening, script is by Mike Fleisher, pencils Alan Milgram, inks Jack Abel, and editor Jeff Roven. Matt, you and I have talked pretty much at length about the bios of most of every one of these guys. We've had them over and over again, so we don't feel the need to jump in with a lot of bio stuff. Listen to our previous episodes or watch our previous episodes. We have lots of interesting things to say about these folks here.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, this is a Dan Curtis. It says Dan Curtis production. The guy opens the door. There's a woman screaming, and then it does that blurry still frame like in the 70s where they couldn't get a fucking decent solid shutter speed for the freeze frame, and then it goes to commercial, and then you see some floor wax, and you come back, and the next scene is that page 2 is beginning proper.
So, but you and I mean, we've gone on. We love that. Like, we love that about like 70s detective shows. Your Quincy, Kolchak. You get the teaser of the whole episode, really. Of just like, oh, this is what's going to happen. You don't get the ending, but you're kind of you're fed enough crumbs to where you know what you're getting into, and that is like a. Do I really want to watch this? I don't know. I have 2 other channels to choose from. So
we got snow and cheese.
So it's like, oh, okay, Rockford. Oh, Angel's in this episode. Oh, they're doing a scam. All right, I'm in. I'm sitting down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rockford gets arrested this one. He's framed for murder, Jacob.
Not again.
How can you not watch that one? So yeah, to me, this feels exactly like that, where it's just like, oh boy. So there's going to be a monster. Yeah. There's a woman threatened, a choke. So let's dive in. So here's the open that I was suggesting that they're avoiding here. We see an old guy in a greenhouse, and he's talking to his begonias. He's giving them water. This is all exposition theater. So he says, and you, Ivy, are you happy with the extra climbing strength my new plant serum has given you? If only man would cling to his ideals as tenaciously as you cling to that trellis. Like, so it's way over the top here. But I like this old guy, and then we see these strange that look like Christmas trees tied up to go on the top of your station wagon. But we find out they're these pods. It's his greatest creation, and it's taken him a lifetime to get here. So, we see that this guy is obviously a botanist, and he is loves his plants, he loves his work, and he has been striving towards some big end in his life's work.
I loved it. In a few pages, we're gonna hear from one of his ex-students. And I love that, the way a student described it, he's just like, he's this botanist, but he talks about freedom a lot. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
And that's how it is in here. It's like, he loves talking to his roses and begonias, but he hates fascism, and he's going to talk about that too. So that's an interesting botanist. I would attend that lecture.
So would I.
Yeah.
Stoned.
Totally stoned, but I would have a great time. So, all right. Yeah. So the action happens on the next page to where, hold on there.
Big glass
happens. Crash.
Folks, if you don't know, when glass breaks, we have to have a sip.
Big glass is so prevalent in the 70s. It even is at Atlas from the very beginning.
Yep. Stranglehold.
Yeah, it is. So, there's a big crash. He's like, huh? Then we hear it outside. There's the deviant. And then we get kind of a great little sequence where he's like, what do you want? Why? And that's just, and he looks like he's shot like 50 times.
Yeah, so it's the Wild Bunch.
It is the Wild Bunch. Squibs going off all over the place. and so then, we see he's gruesomely murdered. And we see our first kind of like futuristic, like jackbooted thugs a la Judge Dredd. Kind of. I mean,
presaging Judge Dredd.
And then one of them says, "What on earth makes a man do such perverted things, Captain? Why, this one even has books in his house." Yeah, and I love the captain.
Sorry.
The captain goes all poetic. He's like, "Even the clearest lake has its share of slime, Lieutenant. Never forget that. Also, books are the worst."
That's Basho, right? Did Basho say that? For me, the first standout panel for Milgram in this, actually the sequence above, the rat-a-tat-tat was awesome.
It's awesome.
But this composition here, this point of view, like, this is the first time I feel like, oh shit, Milgram's going for it a little bit.
Yeah, Milgram has great art in this issue. I don't get that. I just keep harping on the opening page. I just hated it so much. And there's great things in this issue. And people are like, maybe Al's just starting out. No, he's not just starting out. He's been around for like 2 years. He's done a lot of shit.
Yeah. I remember reading that Comic Book Artist 16 that we constantly reference. I think it was in that interview there, the kind of roundtable with a bunch of different creators, the short interviews, where he kind of said something to the effect of like, I feel like I never really got a proper chance for people to see me at my best. Like, I'm either doing something in a pinch that's high profile or something like lower profile that like just don't get enough eyes on it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, he totally.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't think that Al, I don't think if you talk to Al Milgram, he'd be like, it was my best work, Atlas Seaboard. Like,
well, I mean, he was probably talking about this, but I mean, like, I was reading that and like, didn't you draw Spectacular Spider-Man for like 4 years?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's like a pretty high profile book.
Yeah, it's a super high profile book. I don't have a problem with Milgram's art normally at all.
I don't either. He's a type of person that I don't frequently like when people are saying list your fave blah blah blahs. He's never on that list, but whenever I see his work, I'm like, he's solid. It's solid.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's never going to show up on my top 10 list or my top 50 list. Well, probably on my top 50 list. But I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Like when you see that panel down there at the bottom, like you're like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's rock solid.
Yeah, it's great.
And I had to go through this, reading this whole issue here, reading Fleischer's work, bearing in mind that interview I read with him where he's like talking about Hex, the 80s Mad Max Hex, saying like, yeah, I have no interest in sci-fi. Like that was a job. They were canceling Jonah Hex. It was my last gasp at keeping the character around that I loved. Don't care for sci-fi. So reading this with that in mind was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And it comes out in some ways, but in some ways it feels like it's just kind of him being like, I don't love it, but here's the things I like of sci-fi. And I'm going to all mush them into one big silly putty pizza and give it, Play-Doh pizza for you.
It's a Play-Doh pizza. which are fun to look at. Don't eat them, but they're fun to look at.
They're so salty. Yeah. Okay, are we moving on?
Yep.
Okay. So on this next page here, we get a nice classic, like, Spidey Super Stories kind of layout, right? Just 3 huge panels. I dig Milgram's designs for a lot of the stuff. So we get to see a close up on these soldiers. Like they have these, again, it's all this kind of like Nazi-ish kind of fascist helmetry and stuff like armor, but they have like eyes on them, right? Mm-hmm. And the police is written on the helmet, and they have visors. So they're kind of, you can't see their eyes, so you can't connect with them. So they seem inhuman, which is natural for jackbooted thugs. But they have to sanitize this whole place, except for the pods. They want to keep the pods. They go into the complex. And so we get this third panel where I was just like, holy Freud, like paging Dr. Freud. They pull out these flamethrowers a la Fahrenheit 451 to destroy everything. And man, that's a freaking phallus.
Yeah, I think that's what they call spurts of flame.
Yes. Big spurts of flame. So that is my contribution to this. I loved it. I thought it was funny. And considering how we're going to see the pods represented in a few pages, it makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So at the end, they have loaded up the pods into the Thought Police van with a giant eyeball painted on the side. I thought it was kind of weird that Fleisher didn't even bother to like change the name to a synonym like Mind Cops or something. Like,
nope.
He's like, no, fuck, it's Thought Police. That's literally what it's called in Orwell. Like, I'm not changing it. Nope.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
Yeah. So that phallus thing. I have to wonder what the script was like. I've got the impression from reading that Comic Book Artist 16 that they did not do Marvel Method.
No.
That there were full scripts. So I wonder what Fleischer's were. I wonder if he said these guys are holding giant flamethrowers down at their crotch zone and spraying their destructive semen all over this scientist's work.
Honestly, that's not totally out of character for Mike Fleischer.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is at all. I would think this is a deliberate, like, I want to imagine that he went like full Alan Moore and wrote like 3 paragraphs about how the flamethrowers look like dicks. And I want him to have gone down to like the cellular level.
Yeah, like cut out a bunch of like reviews of Truffaut's like Fahrenheit 451 and pasted them into the script.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, let's go to the next page. So we cut to a secret government lab where the professor we now know as Professor Crochelle, and they've taken his pods, they've put it into a glass box. And we learn from them that Professor Crochelle has been conducting illegal botany experiments, which just made me laugh. I love that. As far as legal clandestine activity goes. Yeah, the botany experiments.
I helped somebody harvest illegal botany experiments a few years ago.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Well, I was wearing nitrile gloves as I was picking the botany experiments off of the plants. And the stickiness of the botany experiments actually tore the fingers off the gloves. Yeah. So my fingers were coming into contact with the crystalline botany experiments.
Oh, wow.
And I got super fucking high. And it was actually nightmarish.
Okay, well, that's a botany experiment that I understand and can relate to.
Yeah.
But, so we learned, illegal botany experiments. I like the guy that was just like, I know, I was once a student of his. He was always babbling about things like truth and freedom right in the middle of botany class. And which, I don't know, again, I would love to hear those lectures. But then they're just like, what's he, like the main guy's like, what's been done with Crochelle? Is he in jail? And the guy's like, no, he's dead. Police liquidated him when they took the pods. He'd been under surveillance for some time. The pods were his last great experiment. And then like, what kind of experiment? And says, no one knows. The Thought Control Council didn't mind old Crochelle playing with his begonias, but these pods had the look of something really deviational. So they're very into deviants. And yeah. So it's I don't know. This whole thing made me laugh. And the shadows are weird in that panel. The shadows are dumb.
Yeah, they're not good. I love the pods in the case, though. It looks like some like Japanese Christmas tree. All right, so on the next page, they're checking out these pods here, and they just want to observe them. And this guy's very concerned about these pods. He's never seen them this big before. And this second panel kind of wigged me out. Like, it looks like he's twerking. Like, he's kind of sticking his ass out, and he's got this weird futuristic tunic on. And he says that they're maturing. They should be ready, to come out soon. And he just seems like he's very excited about these. It kind of made me uncomfortable. So day after day, they keep a vigil on these things. And then finally it was like, so he says the one on the right's coming along fine, but one's damaged, probably from transporting them there. And so it's just the waiting game.
Right, on the next page, the narration starts. The days stretch into weeks, and then finally, we get a guy. The professors. He's looking at a microscope, but he's on the side of bad. He's a fascist professor. He works for the Thought Police, for the Thought Council. He's probably on the Thought Council, honestly. And one of his underlings says, "Professor, come quick! The big pod, it's starting to open." He's running down, being like, "Can you tell what it is? What's inside it?" They're like, no, not yet. I wanted to be sure to find you so you could be there when it opens. And then, it's obviously opening. He says, "Great Scott, look!" And then we get a very suggestive opening of the pod. And it says, "It can't be. There's a human being inside." And I have to say, there's a lot to say about that panel, obviously. But I do like how, the shadow is kind of just like straight lines. Like, I actually really like that effect. I think it looks really cool. Him being in the pod and kind of coming out of the pod, if you will. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah. I was more interested in the webbing around the pods than the actual. This thing looks weird.
It does. It definitely does.
A lot of bio-horror.
Yeah, there is a lot of bio-horror in this one. Yeah. No, it's that's our first glimpse of our hero emerging from a very peculiar pod. Peculiar but familiar.
Yeah, I had thoughts about this. It reminded me of George O'Keeffe.
Yes.
He is born.
He is born. Like all
I like
of
that
us
they mention.
are.
Yeah, I like that they mention that he's not actually human because he's attached to the pod. So he's,
That is really cool. I do like that. He says, look how he's attached to the inside of the pod, just like a pea or a bean. I'm like,
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, that is cool, actually. But also love how it ends with the professor being like, he looks awfully weak. We better get him out of there and into a rejuvenator.
So yes, we have like a Zardoz, guns are good, penis bad thing or something here with the spraying of the liquid fire onto books. Whereas this is all Gaia, Mother Nature, helped by a professor, what's his name? Crochelle. But it's all organic versus destructive man energy.
Yes, it is. Not gonna disagree. Yeah.
Okay, so soon he's in the pod, and he seems to be doing better. And just imagine a plant man of some kind grown in a greenhouse inside a giant pod. And this page is just kind of unremarkable for me. They want to get him out, and I kind of like all the Kirby machines in that first panel there on the bottom left. But these insets here, this sequence of 3, this triptych, not good.
No, it's not good. Opinion.
So it's supposed to be him kind of stirring and then regarding his situation, attaining consciousness, essentially. His eyes snap open, and then he's like, and he just appears to be a person, but they realize, again, he's a plant, and he just says, "Where am I? Who?" And he can speak. And they realize, well, Crochelle must have like programmed language into his pod fibers or something like that when he grew him.
His fibrocellular structure.
Yeah. Remember that from biology?
I remember that.
And so they get him to the infirmary and they want to do a full physical examination. So they put him on a gurney. Just there's a lot of unremarkable pages for me. And many of these Atlas books have issue ones where it's just kind of like yada, yada, yadas, the yada, yada, yada pages.
But as they go, this one does have lots of cool Kirby-like machines. Kirby Light, I should say.
Yes, Kirby Light. Yeah, perfectly. LITE.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So next page. So they it's like, shall we give him a name? I did kind of like this, the way that this hall is drawn. I did like that. It's cool. It's like an elevator shaft, but it's very cool. I was like, shall we give him a name? A name, yes. We'll call him Morlock. It's a name I recall from a decadent novel I read while still a boy. So talking about the time machine and saying that, he's explaining, it was a race of servants who worked for the good of a superior people, as will our friend here. He says, but Morlock will have to be studied carefully so we can ascertain exactly how he may best serve the state. And it says, yep, everyone has their rightful place. And then we just have a bonkers panel down here. It says, in the days that follow, Morlock is relentlessly probed, tested, and indoctrinated so he can be used as a tool of the totalitarian government. So for those listening, it's Morlock. He's in, this is Clockwork Orange kind of stuff now that we're going into as well a little bit. But everything, 1984, it's all. And so he's surrounded by all these, like words that are all like crazy and wacky and LSD inspired. And it's all like freedom is slavery. The truth is false. A citizen's to spy on one's neighbors, a citizen's highest duty. And and then we get in the middle. There's one of the thought police that says with the eye on it says the state is all. So, and with a bunch of the other men, pointing fingers at him. What did you think of this panel?
I liked it in like a Peter Max like pop art kind of way, but it doesn't match the messaging where like I kept wanting to write like blacklight poster, take a drink. And I was like, I don't want a blacklight poster of this.
No, I don't either.
But I did like that kind of weird like abstraction of the thought police into like the the eye, the all-seeing eye of the brother, state, like becoming a physical eye, making it a cyclops. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. So, yeah.
But again, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of dystopian science fiction.
Yep. Lot of better told dystopian science fiction.
Yeah. So, we're moving on here. This is where, for me, it gets interesting with this page. So they're just kind of looking at him. There's a bunch of scientists around with clipboards watching him, and they say, he seems completely ordinary. Why do you think Crochelle created him? And like, I don't know. And then the guy's like, hey, well, here's your vitamins, Morlock. And he hands some vitamins off to him. And he says, you better. And he touches him as he's handing them off to him. He's like, hey, on my hand, where you just touched me, there's some sort of fungus growing. And sure enough, his hand is turning green and furry. I have well-documented body horror issues. Creepshow, the Stephen King sequence of Creepshow where he comes in contact with a meteorite that has a fungal plant in it that takes him over is like one of my early kinder trauma moments that constantly fucked me up. So this stuff immediately goes to the core of my being and turns upside down and shakes me. And I love the sequence here on the bottom row. It says, suddenly, as the elder government scientist watches in mute and helpless horror, the tiny spot of sickening green fungus transmitted by Morlock's touch begins to spread at an alarming rate. You just see his whole hand turning green, and he's like shaking his hand, like just trying to get it off. And it's just growing. And it says within seconds, it engulfs his arms as he raises them up in panic. And it says his chest, his face, where just the camera's like pushing in. It's just growing, like just covering him up in seconds.
Yeah.
And he's fucked. And that last panel where he's in mid scream, his eyes just looking up towards heaven, like help. As
it's freaky.
His fungal is horrifying.
Yeah, it's super horrifying. All he was trying to do is give him vitamins. He didn't deserve that.
Just want to give him his vites. They call them vites in the future because they don't have time to say vitamins.
Vites, they don't. We didn't have time for anything in the future. But yeah, you're right. No, this is an effectively horrific sequence. I was very impressed.
Yep.
All right, so we get to see the end result of this, and he's just totally a plant now. Says until finally his human life snuffed out of him, he stands rooted to the floor like a ghastly, agonized plant. We get a gasp. I would have liked to choke there, but it's fine. And so the guy's like, "Oh, Morlock, what have you done?" He's like, "I don't know. I didn't mean to do anything, but when I touched him, he..." And then it's like, "You don't have to tell me, Morlock. It's horrible." And Morlock is just kind of just like, "I'm sorry. I don't know what I did." And then it goes after that. I love that it's like, before long, Morlock has been provided with special metal foil gloves to prevent him from accidentally transmitting his malignant fungus. But we now know that the state would rather him selectively transmit that malignant fungus. For on the bottom panel, we see the professor saying to Morlock, they're outside now, and it says, see that deviant over there? I do like Morlock kind of as in negative space a little bit. That's it's a weird choice, but I kind of like it.
Right? I mean, you expect that to be a solid black form.
No.
But they make him like Casper. It's a weird choice. I kind of like it.
I do too. I liked it a lot, actually.
And I like that Dutch angle where it's just like everything's kind of shifted to like this weird, like, you're in the lab, everything's sciencey and Kirby machines, and then like once you get out there, like, now you're an assassin. Good luck. It's like everything wrenches up 20 degrees.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And predictably, it took 3 seconds of like, wait, we can use him to kill dissidents.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Immediately.
And Milgram did a good job of like putting like, trust the state. Like there's always like propaganda. It's always in the background. Attention to detail there. Like I don't love any depiction of people per se in this book. But the creature I like, and whenever somebody becomes fungal, it's interesting to me. So there's more I like about it than I dislike, but yeah, just in general, the people just don't look great to me in this whole issue.
No, agreed.
So yeah, on the next page, he's on his first gig here. His handler explains he's been breaking the law. He's been writing subversive poetry. This is Allen Ginsberg, apparently. It's like, you have to take your gloves off and touch him. He's like, do I have to? I don't like what happens when I was like, are you daring to question the lawful demands of the state? An ordinary man will be liquidated for less. Now go. And I love this third panel. First of all, I love this sequence in this top row because it's like a fixed camera angle. Mm-hmm. This triptych where it's like walk down, and then you see him in the third panel, like walking away from the camera's head slouched, like hung low, like he's just like resigned to this fate. And in these 3 panels of him being told by his handler, you have to kill this guy or you're dead, you see this dissident, this deviant, as they call them, walking towards the camera, like getting closer and closer in this red tunic. So it's this nice little sequence there. Mm-hmm. And then he pulls his glove off, and you get this nice panel of negative space where it's just Morlock and the poet and this weird like rectangle of shadow below them. And he just gently touches him, just dink, as he walks by. And and the poet died. Like literally the next panel, he is a green statue. Look, gasp, as Morlock walks away with his glove in hand. In the last panel of the page, it just kind of cuts to the chase and says, in the weeks that follow, he does this a bunch of times. Something inside Morlock makes him recoil from the demands of his totalitarian masters. And he tells them, look, I'm done, man. I can't do this anymore. It makes me sick to my stomach doing this job. And they're dressing him down, saying right and wrong are the government's responsibilities. Morlock. It's very, very, very dirty Harry Callahan kind of.
Well, he's basically telling Morlock to turn in his badge and gun. In that panel. Yeah. Oh, I know. The poor.
You can cram your rules, pal.
McGarnacle.
I don't do paperwork.
Yeah, I know. I loved it. I loved this poor guy, this poor old man. He's writing subversive poetry.
Yeah.
So sad.
Dirty limericks about the state.
Limericks. I don't know. It was so funny. I thought Ginsberg too. I'm just like, oh, best minds of our generation.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah. Okay. So on the next page, yeah, we're still kind of in it where the captain is just reminding, Morlock as he's storming out. It's like, your responsibility is to see that you remain loyal. Understand? He's like, sure, I understand. But then they're like, ooh, we're going to have to watch him closely. What if he'll rebel? They're like, well, he'll be destroyed. And then we get a meanwhile. It's kind of strange to me, but, and yeah, now he's in the park and he's feeding birds. This is how he's blowing off steam. How old is Morlock, do you think? Is he a month?
2 weeks.
He's 2 weeks old. And he's gone through some shit, and now he just wants to sit on a park bench and feed some birds. And just like you say, next to on that tree, there's a little sign that says "The state is always right."
Gentle reminder.
Yeah, gentle reminder. It is. It's just like a nice little sign.
Yeah,
it probably is
like
a
Portland. That'd be hand painted.
It would,
with like a little sloth or something painted on it. Like, it's cute. There's a bird painted on it.
State's always right.
State's always right.
So, but yeah, and we get a familiar looking lady who comes walking in and is just like, hello, what are you doing? Like, he's just like, just feeding the birds. I like the birds because they're so free. So he's almost in his like emo teen phase at this point. And then he's like, but she's like, oh, the birds are lucky to have a friend like you. Most people around here throw rocks at the birds. Do people in a totalitarian state, all of them throw rocks at birds? Is that what it's become?
Apparently we've sunk so low.
Oh, that's bad. And then, but I like how he's like, friend, what is a friend? And she's like, you mean you don't know what a friend is? And he's like, no, I do not. Yeah, it's an odd exchange, but I like that panel of the pigeons.
So I was going to say, I love that choice of zooming in on them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, my main note was just from kind of referencing the top here, where it's just my only note says, Morlock's a good cop. He's a damn good cop.
Sure, I understand, Chief.
So yeah, I did like this weird little like blowing off steam, feeding the pigeons. I think that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, this conversation continues, but we've zoomed out at this point, and we're just looking at the park from like outside with thought police vans on the outside. And she's saying, well, explaining what a friend is to him. Like, it's someone who likes you, whom you can confide in and share your happy moments with. Don't you have any friends? He's like, I don't think so. I have the scientists at the laboratory complex, but I don't think the scientists are really my friends.
You think?
So she's playing along saying, laboratory complex, do you do work in a laboratory? He's like, no, I live there. I live there. And they spell laboratory wrong. Like, they spell it 3 times in one panel and they spell it wrong in the 3rd time. It's kind of weird. He's like, I work for the government, but I do horrible, horrible things. And he's like, I think the government's wrong to make me do the work I do. And she's like, that's impossible. The government's never wrong about anything. And we get some cool kind of camera angles. Again, there's like no like dynamite layouts in this issue, but just some interesting like swooping around here from Milgram, just keeping us visually interested. So we're like in a bird's eye view as a pigeon's taking off. We're up like in the boughs of a tree looking down. And he's like, well, that's what everyone says, but something inside me makes me think the government is wrong to make me do their horrible work. What's your name? She says, mine's Linda. It's like, mine's Morlock. Morlock, that's a funny name. I think you're a strange man, Morlock. And this last panel is weird to me because it's him in the foreground. They're sitting on a park bench. She's looking at him. And, well, like basically he's all in shadow of a tree over his head. It's a weird choice. How did you visually parse that?
It's the shadow of a tree or a bush.
But why would Milgram do that?
I don't know why he would do that. I really don't. It's a weird. I don't know. Maybe this is one of those to one of those things they don't really talk about a lot, where it's like, fuck, my ink splattered all over his face. What do I do? And it's just like, no, I can fix this. I don't have to redo the whole page.
Can I tell you what I made of it? And I'm probably completely high. Like, I thought we got that close up of the pigeons. So the pigeons have become a symbol of like freedom, right? Birds can fly away, do whatever they want. So in this next to the last panel, we see a pigeon flying towards us. It's free to leave the surly bonds of gravity. It's flying away doing what it wants. He can't do that. So in the last panel, the shadows of the trees over him are somehow like a comment of like the things that are keeping him bound, like a bird can fly out of a tree and leave, but he can't. Like, so he's trapped and pinned by the tree branches. I'm probably reading way too much into it, but I was like, this has to mean some. But now that you said, he probably just spilled ink on it and said, "Fuck it." That makes way more sense.
No. Your take is beautiful, man. It's all about freedom.
Well, I love freedom.
I love it. I love
Can
freedom and botany.
This panel, the girl, is Mogra's best work on the issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, she looks awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, but so I have to just say, so I don't know. I guess maybe it's different in 1984 Brave New World, and I'm just not remembering. I don't remember the branding of Thought Police vehicles as much like that. I thought they would be like much more like kind of trying to hide, not by
Mattel,
not like Zeppelin Icarus, like airbrushed on the side of the van.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it looks like a decal that you'd put on a toy.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they? I can see them painting eyeballs and everything like on that building.
Yeah.
That's a reminder that you're being observed.
Yeah.
But Thought Police is a little on the nose.
It's a little on the nose. What did you make of Lewin's?
Yeah, I almost looked that up to see if that was something, but I forgot.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, I don't know what that is. I guess I didn't care that much. So, okay. Yeah. So next page, I like that Morlock kind of gives her the not all men line. Just like, I'm not like other men. Perhaps that is why I have no friends. And she's like, I like you, Morlock. If you let me, I'll be your friend. And then I love that it has like in the next panel, it's a nice little like Morlock is happy with his new friend. In the days that follow, they take long walks in the park together. Morlock tells her about the work he does for the government, how awful he feels about it. But Linda urges Morlock to keep on with his work. But Morlock disagrees. And then, what did you make of that?
I like that panel. I like that. Like, at first I thought, wow, these trees suck. But then I realized I think he's actually like emphasizing like these are old, big, whatever trees. And it's just like this reminder of like, don't forget, this dude is a plant.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might be getting horny for this girl. He's a plant man. Do not forget plant man.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's what I thought.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I thought it was super cool. And then at the bottom it says, and one day Morlock makes a fateful decision. And he's having his moment. He's like, I can't go on killing people for them. Even if the people I kill are deviants, I'll tell them how I feel about it. I'll make them understand how. Then as he's approaching this door, he hears, there's nothing I can do about it, I tell you. And then he realizes, he's like, wow, it's Linda's voice. What's she doing here in the lab complex? So you see,
did you clock this?
About what?
That she reveal was... Did you get this before this happened? I did not.
No, I didn't at all. No.
Okay. Pleasantly unpleasant reveal for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. No. That was it.
We should resume our casting. Like
you think so?
I was trying to figure out who would play this guy then and now, and I could not place him. He looks like Alec Baldwin in that last panel.
He does.
Obviously not now and not then. He was too young. But yeah, I don't know. I miss the casting calls. Those were fun.
We'll have to bring him back.
Okay. Yeah. So this to me, like, honestly, when I first read through it, I was like, oh, what? Linda? Yeah. What's Linda? Oh
no.
So yeah, it's revealed. He says, and you failed us, Linda. Your mission was to befriend Morlock, to spy on him, to reassure him whenever his loyalty to the state seemed about to waver. She says, I carried out that mission. He's been on the verge of quitting for months. It's only because I've managed to persuade that plant freak of yours I'm his friend that I've managed to keep him working for you this long. And he's in the inset portal going, ah. We get he busts in here. It's like Harper Valley PTA. Yes. So you've managed to keep the plant freak working by pretending to be his friend, have you? Morlock. She's appealing to him. Please, I'm your friend. You've got to understand. I do understand, baby. That day in the park, it was a trick to meet me, to gain my confidence. You're nothing but a spy sent to watch over me, to make sure I continue doing the filthy work that... No, Morlock, you've got it all wrong. Just so many cliches. I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of cliches in this. Don't feel like we needed the yelling lines out of his mouth there. I was just like, I don't need that. That's weird.
It's weird.
But yeah, no, I loved this page too. Just as many cliches as you can fit into. I
could have taken some more. My notes just say no single tear. Yeah. No. How long have you been standing there? Long enough. Long enough.
Oh, that one I would have appreciated. That I could definitely get behind. So yeah, next page, Linda embraces Morlock, saying, I really do care for you, Morlock. He's like, get away from me. Don't touch me. Then the narration in that middle panel says, never since he first emerged full grown from the plant pod has Morlock known anger. His body, part man, part plant, trembles now with this new terrifying emotion. And suddenly, as Linda attempts to soothe him with a bogus display of affection, something strange begins to happen. Something terrible. She's like, Morlock, what's happening to you? Morlock, what's wrong? What's happening? And he's becoming more and more, he's turning into the plant monster that we saw. And so, he's kind of outline of a slee stack there on the third panel. And then, at the bottom, we get the big reveal. It says, within the space of a single senses-shattering moment, Morlock has become miraculously transformed into something horrible, something unearthly. And so, he has, all of his weird tentacles and arms, and he's reaching out for Linda.
I love that there's like almost zero humanity in his plant form. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's not any echoes. Like he doesn't have the hair. There's nothing. Like he looks like the Scream, like the painting The Scream, but as a plant. Like it's horrifying.
He does.
And I just love all the ropey like roots and vines and stuff that all over him. It's just so creepy.
Yeah. Okay,
so it continues on, and he tries to speak, but all that comes forth is a hideous gurgle. Love it. He tries to think, but his mind is clouded with bestial preoccupations of an inhuman thing. In this monstrous form, Morlock knows only that he is hungry, terribly hungry, and that the screaming morsel before him is food. And we get this forfer here of her screaming, yeah! And I love Milgram's choice of this shriek of green lettering ending in a red blood.
Isn't that awesome?
Immediately she's snuffed out and there's a blood spatter to show it. I've never seen that before, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And man, those 4 panels are so badass. I like that, just like so many arms and tentacles just totally just envelop her by the end. Great sequence. This made me kind of love this issue.
Yeah, me too. It's almost like some kind of Lovecraftian kind of a cosmic horror at this point, where it's just like you said, like just additional arms just keep wrapping her up. Like if you thought she was going to get away, no chance in hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this nice panel at the end of this whole row here where it says, within seconds she is gone, devoured, enveloped in a tentacled embrace, and only a pool of brackish slime remains as mute evidence that a frail human was once here and died. And the sign just busted. Oh my God, look! So we've gone full circle back to the Rockford cold open.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bottom of the page here it says, gasp, press the alarm. And they press the alarm. Now Morlock can hear sounds of men yelling. The guns are coming. They're shooting at him. They're shooting towards his leaf-enshrouded form, which seems like a disconnect from Fleischer's script and Milgram's depiction of him because he has no leaves. No. He's just like barkiness and like tentacles. He can't discern what the men are saying as they're shooting at him. And big glass, Jacob.
Mm-hmm. Yet again.
He breaks through. He can only understand survival. Stop him! He's getting away! Kablam! Kablam! Crash! Oh, great reveal. Even though it's like teased fully at the beginning, I don't care. It still works.
It's awesome. Yeah, this page is just great. Like, this is when the issue kind of finally you're just like, oh, cool. Okay, this is my money's worth. This is awesome.
Yep, 100%.
You know, I loved this page. So next one, he's kind of wandering about. It says he eludes his pursuers, and he's drawn by some unearthly instinct. And he says he shambles back to the charred ruins of the greenhouse, whose black soil first gave him life. So he's walking back towards Professor Krushel's burned out lab. And he's starting to change. He's like, well, I'm starting to change again. I'm regaining my human form. And fuck, that panel is horrifying.
Yes, I love it.
Back. I was like, God damn. Because you're right. It's starting like out of that mass. There's starting to be like a hand that he's looking at, and just, loved it. And then, he's back in his superhero outfit, and he comes in and he's like, this is the place where my life began. This is where Professor Krushel first planted the pod from which I emerged. And so then, and he's digging down, and he says, buried beneath the flagstone floor of the charred and shattered greenhouse, Morlock makes a momentous discovery. He's like, well, it's a notebook, Professor Krushel's notebook. He says, and he's reading it, of course, and this is, again, like, oh, okay, this is I think they got all this cosmic horror shit. Then they're like, fuck, we have to do stuff. Okay, all right, plot. Okay, and then he's like, according to this, he hoped I would become the first in an army of plant men who would help overthrow the dictatorship. So I love it. Even though I do love that the kindly old professor who talked to his begonias had like a take over the fucking fascist plan with plants, which I love. It's awesome.
Yeah, I maybe wouldn't have liked it so much in other times, or right now it feels like the hero we need.
Yeah, he is. He is the hero we need.
Yeah, man, I like this panel here in the middle.
Yeah, me too.
I love the foreground of like the melted, like the heat was so intense of them destroying this man's work and his passion for freedom and liberation and whatever, that it actually melted steel. Like, that's such a cool note from Milgram.
Yeah, well, you saw what they did. They jizz fired all over that place. That was flames. That burned the shit out of it.
And yet this Moleskine thing made it just fine.
Yeah.
It might be from like Krypton. It might be some kind of special notebook we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last page here, Jacob. Not only did it survive, but so did a flask that was taped to the inside. And he's opening up, and there's a drawing of him on the left-hand page, and then a drawing of his monstrous plant form on the right-hand page with a vial taped inside. It says, according to this, I possess awesome powers, but the professor feared that whenever I reverted to my primitive plant form, I might commit acts of hideous evil. And he takes it out and he's looking at the serum. He says, so he made the serum. It will enable me to avoid turning into the plant monster as long as I drink it regularly. But there isn't much serum here. This was only a sample. What will I do when it finally runs out? He wonders as he walks away from the ruins of his creator's house and lab in this crazily canted angle. And the final panel is this big dystopian mission statement from Fleischer and Milgram. It says, meanwhile, in the city, and there's a bunch of loudspeakers and a giant video billboard showing a headshot of Morlock. And the speakers are saying, this man is wanted. He is a fugitive from justice. He is an alien life form who threatens the security of our happy society. The state offers 500 credits to the citizen who informs the authorities of his whereabouts. Repeat, this man is wanted. And you see a bunch of citizens milling about looking up at it. So pilot episode complete.
That's right.
What do you think of this last page?
I liked it. I don't know. I liked where this was going. Like I feel like I don't know. I don't know if I compare it to other issue ones, but yeah, the last like third of this issue made me be like, yes, like I'm in.
Yeah. Once he fully turned into the monster, I was 100% on board. But yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves, I guess, a little bit, huh? Let's do some shout outs before we do anything else. So many of the show's listeners support the podcast by becoming Patreon members. There are several tiers of support to fit every budget. However, the most popular one is Pack Member. That's $5 a month. And they get the weekly shadow show that we make in audio and video format, and special gated content that's the other tiers below that don't get access to. They also get shout outs in the credits in the bonus show and verbal shout outs in the main show. That's this right here. So that is fine folks like Ben Potter,
Blake, last name withheld,
Brad Elmore,
Brian Steed,
Brian from Marvel by the Month,
my old friend Caleb, who actually sent me 2 packs of Mike Plug trading cards that I have yet to open up. We're gonna do a little reveal for those. Some of that gated content that we talked about.
Film that. I want to see a video of you film. Okay.
Yeah, he sent it a couple weeks ago, but we were moving and everything, and I kind of forgot. But I saw him, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say this on the show, so I won't forget. So yes, thank you, Caleb, and we'll be opening those on a video and real soon.
You saw Caleb?
No, he mailed them to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You said I saw them. Sorry,
yeah.
I thought you said you saw him. I miss that guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. Chris Sperry.
Dave Kennedy.
David D.
David Goodman.
Glenn Lash.
Grace.
Greg Rowland.
James Shegas.
Jared from the Swords and Scrolls podcast.
Jason W.
Jeff Fitzpatrick.
Jerry from Buffalo.
Justin the Owl.
Kyle from the Heartland.
Letty.
Matt Harvey.
Michelle from Moonlit Comics.
Pat Svek.
Rob from Marvel by the Month.
Russ from Tomes of Evil.
Tony Iupi.
Tim Tucker.
And Worm Drive Pro. Thanks to all of our pack members for supporting us.
That's right, but there is one more level to our Patreon. We're talking about the celestial barbarian deities known as the Star Gods. So Star Gods get everything that we had talked about before, but they also get another level of special gated content that, Matt, you always make sure to dole out some cool stuff to the Star Gods. I think now when you edit the Shadow Show early, you give access to the Star Gods, right? So they get that early access to the Shadow Show that everyone else who supports us, at those tiers get.
I love to give, Jacob.
Yeah, you do. You do. And after 6 months of being a Star God, you can go to our Threadless shop. You can pick out whatever you want, a shirt, a cup, a travel mug, shower curtain.
They have them.
They do have them. They're expensive, but I just did. Sorry, Matt. I just lost us a bunch of money there. I really shouldn't have offered that. But you know what? For our Star Gods, we'll do it. I don't care.
Just do the Micro Machines thing. Say, not actually a comment.
Oh man, I made a Micro Machines reference, and it made me feel so old at work. It was to someone who was probably like in their 30s, but I was Micro Machine guy over here, and they're like, "What are you fucking talking about?
Where's the beef?"
Yeah, I was like, okay, me and Clara Peller are just going to go over here in the corner. But
Max Headroom, Max.
So also you get shout outs on the show as well. So these are Star Gods like Ben M.
and Brink,
Eric Hadley,
Jason Finestone,
Jesse McFerrin,
John Walsh,
Josh Link,
MJ,
Mark Nivens,
Melissa Watts,
Michael Giacchino,
Ryan from Across the Bifrost, a Mighty Thor podcast,
and patron of all patrons, Jackson T. Overstreet.
Thank you, Jackson. Cool. So, those folks get all that great stuff we talked about, like the Shadow Show and archives, the Shadow Show archives. Jacob, we're up to like 113 episodes.
Holy shit. Okay, then.
It's a lot for people to dig into.
That is a lot. There's a lot of us. It's too much of us. I don't want any part of it. Not enough. Not enough us.
Nope.
Yeah.
So
okay.
there was a letters column because this made it 3 issues.
Yeah.
So it was called Future Shocks. Do you want to read this first one?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it says, Dear Morlock 2001, boy, do you guys know how to freak this kid out? Plants that have fingers and eyes and expressions. What'll you think of next? Morlock 2001 is an unbelievably crazy comic. What have you been drinking, Mr. Fleisher? I'd hate to be in your nightmares. Now, for my only complaint, I am not satisfied with the art. I happen to be an Alan Milgram fan, but the stuff is not up to par. What's it about, fellas? That's from Sheldon Blake from Long Branch, New Jersey. And I'm assuming this is Rovan, probably, that's doing these?
No, at this point, that would be Lieber. By issue 3?
Oh,
this is from issue 3.
This is issue 3. Yeah. That is Lieber. Lieber says, well, if it's a new artist you want, next month marks the debut of the brilliant Spanish artist, Jose Gall. And man, does he let his pencils fly on Morlock 2001. He did not. No pencils flew.
Do you know that artist?
No, I don't.
I don't either. This probably never even got turned in, right?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
I just, me. I mean, I'm a Spanish artist. I want to see it.
I want to see it too.
Even if it's written by a lobotomized chimp, I would like to see it. So, but I'm sure it didn't happen. I'm sure they probably sent him a telegram and said, you know what?
Said, nope, sorry, buddy.
Here's half the pay up front. Just stop. We're not doing an issue 4. Yeah. So I don't know. Where are you with Sheldon? Not my favorite Milgram.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I liked parts of it. Like I say, I don't have a favorite Milgram. He's fine.
Yeah, I like the plant monster so much, but the rest of it I just don't like.
Yeah, the rest of it is not great. I mean, we'll talk about that. But the stuff that is great made me be like, okay, this is fine.
Yeah. Another letter here. Dear Morlock and friends, this mag is a real hodgepodge of ideas and storylines, but with many flaws. The artwork needs improving. That's cold, perhaps, but at this stage of the game, I imagine you are looking for opinions. Now, about this half man, half plant. Well, he obviously isn't that. There's too great a conflict in the systems and functions of meat cells versus plant cells. You have terribly oversimplified creation here. First, your society is a pretty straight combination of 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. Everything's spelled wrong in here, by the way. In fact, you should give George Orwell some credit in the front of your mag. It is obviously based on his world of the police state and doublethink. So use it openly. Don't just make it a convenient backdrop. Secondly, why should Morlock be born in snazzy threads and knowing how to speak? I thought they addressed that. He was programmed in his fibrocells structure. Yeah. 2-pack, quick and easy. Same is true for the convenient book in the ashes, handily found by the not found by the police, yet intact in every, with a file in it and blah, blah. So it's third, you have a shell of character, a shell of a character. How does he come to have a strong moral instinct, especially after brainwashing? Who says a plant would even have similar drives and instincts like a man? You should explore the plantness of this creature. Now, lastly, about the monster switch. Yuck. Plants, being immobile and passive, are not likely to develop violent tendencies. Morlock could truly become a unique character, but not in the direction you're moving in now. Christy Caines from Queen of the Drags. I'm sorry, Los Angeles, California. What is this finger-wagging horseshit?
I just like at the end, she's just like, well, he could truly become a unique character, but you have to change every single thing about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. It's like totally like the Hollywood cliche. Like, no, we loved your script so much. We have some notes. Okay, so and then everything is changed.
Change everything.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. They explained. I mean, if you can program in language, then you can program in morality. Like that. That just seemed like you're splitting frogs' hairs at that point. Like,
no, agreed.
Point? So Christy's a dum-dum.
Yeah, a little bit of dum-dum. Not a fan.
Christy, if you're listening right now, please leave a comment on the YouTube thing here. And let us
Christy
know.
Canes.
Have you improved any as you've aged since 1975? We're hoping yes. I'm hoping yes.
Now, the rest of the story.
My favorite segment nowadays, Jacob, is the rest of the story.
It is. It's a great segment.
The first issues are interesting, and the rest of the story's always way more noteworthy, in my opinion. This lasted 2 more issues. The second one had this exact same art team, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one had that infamous complete rewrite. Now it is Morlock 2001 and the Midnight Men. And you can see him on the cover there, apparently dead. And the Midnight Men, a guy has an MM belt, so that must be the Midnight Men.
Yeah, they're here to stay.
A lot going on there.
Yeah.
So the second issue, as per usual, I love. We start off with that same cold open sneak preview of what's going on, and we see a little girl who appears to be sightless, and the monster's towering over her. I mean,
see, but look how good this page is, though, for an opening page. Like, that's what I want. If you're going to do the Rockford thing, I want that. That's what I want.
But it's straight horror too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, you know what I mean? Like, there's a moon in the background, for Christ's sakes. They were leaning into the horror at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So this issue is weird because he escapes, he gets onto a train. It starts literally from the last frame. It repeats the last frame of the first issue in the first frame of the second issue. He jumps on a train and he meets Droogs from Anthony Burgess's Clockwork Orange.
Droogs.
They're straight up Droogs.
Yep.
One is even named Alex. A Droog calls another Droog Alex. Like, it's Fleisher's not fucking around.
No.
This is Clockwork Orange. So in this issue is infamous. Like, every time I read about Atlas Seaboard, they almost always mention Morlock 2001 and issue 2 because he kills all these Droogs. He kills the train yard, like an old man who works at the train yard. He moves on. He encounters these really fucking weird fur-covered men. They look like dog men, like covered in dog hair.
I know.
And he rescues a little girl from them. She's blind. Her dad's a scientist. And basically what happens is it's Frankenstein, the scene with Frankenstein and the little girl with the flowers, but there's no flowers. And it's just straight up him eating a little girl.
Yeah, he just envelops her, and then there's just a puddle left on the floor.
Brackish puddle.
Yeah, brackish puddle. I do love that. Well, her dad was going to turn him in. Like, he was a scientist, just like, oh, I'm going to study you. Oh, 500 credits? Wow.
Yeah, well, the creds are pretty tempting.
Oh, those creds. Yeah, but that you're right. That is probably one of the more infamous things about Atlas Seaboard is that sequence, and it is good, and it is Frankenstein.
Yes, and so for me, that's when I got really interested. Like, this issue, I was like, holy shit, this is great. However, I imagine that Martin Goodman might have wandered through the office one day and picked this issue up off of a desk and flipped through and said, "What the fuck?" Right, and threw it across the room and probably fired somebody on the spot.
Yep.
Like, that has to be, I mean, he wanted Marvel superhero books, and he got a plant man eating a blind little girl.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Well, there was, I mean, I think Martin Goodman was just like, I mean, again, I'm gonna Mr. Show this thing. It's like, no. And don't forget to break some rules. But don't
break any rules.
Don't break any rules.
Just rewatched that one the other day. Yes, I reference that all the time.
Yeah.
Maryland Monsters Pizzeria. So I didn't grab anything for the third issue. We were talking about before we start recording. Again, it's a typical hairpin turn into a completely different angle. Do you want to just briefly talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an extremely forgettable story that just kind of, I mean, Morlock dies at the end, basically, and kind of is just like giving this book over to these, Midnight Men that don't really make any sense. The art team, I mean, it's Mike Friedrich. Is it Mike or Gary Friedrich?
Gary.
It's Gary Friedrich who writes, which he, writes all these third issues, it seems like. And the art team is Steve Ditko with Bernie Wrightson inking, which you would think you'd just be like, whoa, like your head will explode. It's actually very kind of pedestrian. It looks like Ditko, but not. And it's just, I don't know. It's a very flat issue. It was a super letdown from when you find out who the creative team is.
Yeah, it's a letdown even if you don't know who it is. But once you know that it's Wrightson inking Ditko, you're just kind of like, okay, I can sort of see it's Ditko. Like, how do you even? And you were mentioning early on like that they asked Wrightson like, so what was it like doing, inks on Ditko? And he's like, I don't really remember it. Like, probably got a phone call and somebody said, can you do this? And I said, yeah. And it just, yeah.
I know.
It's like those things when it's like, holy shit, did you know that Jagger showed up in the studio when Lennon was doing blah, blah, and you're like, oh my God, is there audio of this? Yeah, a little bit. It's like, hey, you having a cigarette, mate? Oh, like, yeah, they were fucking wasted. It's not good.
it's that famous bootleg of John and Paul in the Pussycats sessions where you know Paul shows up and Stevie Wonder's there and you're like, oh my God, but it sounds awful. It's them drunkenly singing like Long Tall Sally for 20 minutes.
Yeah, a toot and a whatever that's called.
A toot and a snore, I think is what the bootleg's called. But yeah, awful. But yeah, it was like that. You're just like, oh yeah, did not live up to my expectations.
Yeah, fireworks don't always happen, even when you tape 17 Roman candles together and have a phallic flamethrower trained on them. So, I didn't even grab any art from the third issue. It was so unremarkable. Basically, there's a group of a scientist is burned by the firefighters, which is what they're called in Fahrenheit 451. He ends up surviving, but he's horribly scarred. He wears a mask. He calls himself the Midnight Men, and he creates a team. There's like a subway train to an underground base of rebellion fighters, and they end up killing Morlock because he turns on them, and that's the end of the issue. So it's like a brand new direction.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea where they would have gone after that.
No, I don't either. It almost seemed like more of a hard reset than any of the third or fourth issues that we've seen before.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think before we've seen them like, oh, the guy at the book's named after, he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like Fleetwood Mac level, like reset. Like, do you know who Buckingham Nicks are?
Yeah.
No. Do they like blues? Not really. No, not at all.
Not at all.
The band is changing, my friend.
Yeah. Poor Peter Green.
Okay, so let's do final thoughts here. What'd you make of this?
Well, okay, if we're going to see it as a whole, so are you folding in issue 2s when we do our final thoughts?
We kind of have been.
I think we've kind
of been saying like, here's my thoughts on issue 1. Here's my thoughts on the run as a whole.
Yeah,
feels like.
Okay, so yeah, my thoughts on issue 1. And this was, I genuinely do think like the last 3 or 4 pages of Morlock #1 are actually super badass and really turned it around for me. But I also feel like it was a switch that kind of went off in my brain because you're reading, the first 16 pages or something. You're just like, yeah. Okay, no, I get it. Yeah. Okay, 1984. Got it. Cool. Okay. And there's things that are cool about it. And you're like, yeah, that's fine. And then there's, a pretty cool reveal at the end. And then he starts, being actually scary and murdering people. And then I was super on board. Like I was super on board at the end of issue 1. I was just like, yes, I'm going to read issue 2 right now. I don't want to wait. I want to read issue 2. I read issue 2 and I was like, this is bonkers. Like we've said with every issue 2. So we're just like, oh, this is great. It's going in this weird area. And then like, oh my God, he just killed this blind little girl. Like, this is crazy. And so I was super into it. And then I went into, issue 3 being like, holy shit, Wrightson Ditko. And then it's just like this sad trombone from there on out. So, which is what we're feeling about pretty much every issue 3. Have we really loved an issue 3 yet?
Phoenix.
Phoenix was the only one that I could think of that we were like, okay.
Himalaya's Lucifer.
Oh, that was awesome. Okay, that was awesome. All right. But yeah,
but it felt like that was officially, it felt like that was actually the second story because the origin was 2 issues. So
yes,
really,
that
creatively speaking.
Yeah. But anyhow, like after reading 1 and 2 and then reading 1 again, I was just like, okay, I like this. I like this issue for all of its weird flaws and uneven art and stuff. But I found it charming. I found all the literary ripoffs and weird, like nothing made sense. But then at the end, it was a super cool monster. I don't know. I was all in on this. I loved this.
I'm glad to hear you say that because I was concerned we were going to have a difference of opinion here, but I think we're on the same page. My only regret is that the reveal of the monster couldn't have been a surprise. Because if they had somehow just kind of pitched this as just him in his superhero suit with his wispy white hair, being chased by thought police on the cover, somehow been able to pitch that whole thing. And then in the last 4 pages, he turns into a giant turd bark monster and eats somebody. That would have been amazing. But it's revealed on the cover and on the splash page. So by the time you get it, it's a testament to the writing and the art, though, that it's still exciting, even though it's been spoiled twice. And when it happens, it's still badass.
That's awesome,
right?
Yeah, I love it.
So, I'm with you. Like the hodgepodge, the melange of all dystopian sci-fi fiction felt kind of lazy, but it kind of felt like shorthand to get to a place to tell an interesting story. Once they get there, I loved it. And once it becomes not a sci-fi dystopian story, but a body horror, plant horror story, I was 100% in. So I read the first issue in the last like 3 or 4 pages, like, yes, I love this. Second issue, same as you. I was like, this is amazing. Oh my God, it's transgressive and weird and horrifying. And then the third issue, I was like, wait, what? Which is the Alice experience, basically. You bottle that. Right.
That is the Atlas experience. But yeah, no, I'm glad you liked it too. I latched onto this one for some reason. It's just like, I love this. I love it.
Yeah. When I was adding it to my rankings, this is what prompted me to actually start the ranking. I was kind of like, I wonder if Jacob's going to think I'm crazy for how much I enjoyed this.
No, I'm all in.
Because I enjoyed it quite
you.
a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, weird plant men growing out of pods, eating little blind girls. Bring it. Fucking bring it.
That's all we ever asked for.
Yep. Yeah, the pivot to the freedom fighters, I didn't understand. And like you said, having 2 absolute geniuses work together and have the result just be this unremarkable muddle of both of their talents was really a bummer.
Yeah.
It's weird that people don't talk about how disappointing it is more, but it's so unremarkable that you forget it. Like I set it down and walked away and like walked the dog and I'm like, what was it? Oh yeah. Writes and inking Ditko? Wow. Yeah,
I know.
How's that not remarkable?
It should have just blown our minds. It should have been like one of the greatest things of all time. And it was, yeah.
So, yep. Another one down.
That's right.
So next up, we're going to have some guests on from the Taste the Pot of Dracula, our friends Russ and Josh. I'm excited to talk to them. We have never had Josh on the show, I don't think, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Josh is great. Really smart, really cool guy. I'm very excited
Great
to have him
Substack,
on.
by the way.
Yeah,
Great
his
writer.
Substack is awesome. He's an amazing writer.
Yeah. So they're going to come on and talk about Planet of Vampires, which, if I recall correctly, Jacob, was what Jeff Roven pivoted to when they could not get the rights to make Omega Man into a series. Correct?
That's right. Yep. That's what I remember from CBA.
Okay. So great team here. We got Larry Hama on the script, Pat Broderick doing pencils, Frank McLaughlin on inks. I think I know him. And obviously Jeff Roven editing. So, yeah, this is interesting. I'm looking forward to this one. And this cover, I think, this is one of the ones that goes for some money. Is this a Neil? I forgot who did the cover. Is this Neil Adams or who is this? Somebody did the cover, and it's kind of like an early work by them. And so it's one of the few collectible ones, like Iron Dog 1. So, yeah, looking forward to that. A World Gone Mad. I mean, I love that.
Vampires.
Yeah. But first, if you are a Patreon backer, like we mentioned before, on the Shadow Show, we're having one of our free jazz episodes, or Jazz Libre, where we just kind of talk about shoot the shit. Jacob's going to talk about some research he did on the house that he is living in now, some interesting historical stuff he found out. And I'm going to do a little creator spotlight on somebody that I backed on Kickstarter that I'm absolutely obsessed with right now, and I think Jacob's going to love. So, yeah, tune in to the Shadow Show for that. Otherwise, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Planet of Vampires and Russ and Josh. So, if you don't know, we're on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Please look us up there. Say hi. Follow us. We'll follow you back. You can go to patreon.com/Bronze Age Monsters if you want access to that Shadow Show that we just mentioned and the other 112 episodes and a lot of that bonus stuff if you join at the right tier. Also, we'd love you to leave a comment here, like, and subscribe to this channel. Spread the word. If you know somebody who dig this kind of content, send them a link to this. We'd love that. Any final thoughts here, Jacob?
No, I was excited to talk Morlock with you. And yeah, I'm equally excited about Planet of Vampires. I think it's going to be a good one. It'll at least be fun to talk with Russ and Josh for sure.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Until we see you next time, stay bronze, Pony Boy. Stay bronze.